Hey everyone, this is Mike and welcome to my walkthrough for the first Circle Savage, so let's just jump right into it. First attack that the boss will do is going to be a tank buster. He has a few different tank busters in this fight, but the first one is just going to be a normal one called Heavy Hand, so just use some mitigation for this one and you'll be good to go. This one doesn't also hit that hard. The other tank busters are going to be very different from that. Then Ethereal Shackles. Now we believe that we can bait this by distance, so the 4 melee players, 2 tanks, 2 melees, get close to the boss, and all of the other ones, the ranged caster and the healers, go far from the boss. If you don't do that, you could end up with a far debuff on one of the melees, which is kind of unfortunate, but you can still max melee uptime this. We didn't know that at the time of when we were doing the fight, so that is why you'll see us respect the hell out of this mechanic. The 2 debuffs that you're going to be looking for are these 2, the purple chain and the red chain. Purple chain means get close, the red chain means go away. So as you'll see, our ranged players and our Reaper, unfortunately enough, is going to be moving to the edge of the arena. Oh, there's also a raid wide cast over here called Warden's Wrath, so just put some mitigation up for this and heal afterwards, because the chains will also deal a little bit of damage. And then you'll see that players get tethered here. The red chain means furthest players, the purple chain means close players. So we just stand close to the boss, and then the other players spread far away. As I said, you can use max melee for this. If you have the correct markers, then your melees don't need to go all the way to the edge of the arena. Following up, we have Jailer's Flail. Again, this mechanic has a few different versions, but you have to look at his weapons. So over here, he's taking out a sickle, left side first, from my perspective, and then right side second, which means that we're going to move right side first and then move over. Now, these are very big half-arena cleaves. They cleave a little bit more than half of the arena, as you can see. This side over here is going to be your safe spot. So what I would just recommend is go directly east, directly west to dodge this mechanic. Following that, we have a new tank buster, Pitiless Flail from Grace. This one has 2 different variations. If it ends with Grace, it is going to be a group stack. If it ends with Purgatory, it's going to be a proximity AoE on the main tank. On top of this, this will also put a magic Von on the main tank that takes this tank buster, the one with the big indicator, so it requires a tank swap. If your co-tank was to be dead at this point, you can always use a tank in Von to handle the mechanic instead. This is also going to be a knockback, so make sure that you don't end in the wall, because the wall will kill you. And then as you can see, I take a magic Von over here, and now my paladin has provoked the boss and is going to be stacking with the group because it was Grace. Grace is that group share. Then we have Jailer's Flail again. This time around he's going to be taking out 2 different ones. If it is the spiked ball, that means out. If it is the circle, looks kind of like a dancer weapon, that means in, kind of like a donut, as you could say. And then the order in which he does these mechanics depends on which one he takes out first. So he took out the spiked ball first, meaning that we need to go max melee to dodge the point blank AoE, because max melee is enough distance. And then we go in to dodge the donut AoE. Another Warden's Wrath, raid wide AoE, put up some mitigation. Make sure people are healed in case that they got hit by the previous mechanic. And then we go into In-temperance. This is the fire and ice mechanic. So this works in a couple of different ways. First thing is everybody needs to be spread around the arena. We're just going to be using our initial spreads that we took for the chain mechanic that we saw at the beginning of the fight. So 1 on each square, the middle is free. Everybody also needs to be in a square or, well, they're gonna explode and deal some raid wide damage. Then In-temperance Torment is just going to make them explode. Now, these can explode top to bottom, bottom to top, it doesn't matter. All that you need to pay attention to is what color the top one is and what color the bottom one is. So in my case, because the top and the bottom ones are different, I don't need to do anything special. I get hit by the bottom one, I get fire, then I dodge the second one, then I grab my third one, which is Ice, which will resolve my fire debuff. Later on into the fight, this mechanic will come back, and then you'll see what you need to do if you have two of the same. So for example, the one that's standing here, double fire, they need to make sure they get an Ice debuff on the second wave. The purple debuff needs to be avoided, because that will be a one-shot mechanic. So, In-temperance Torment is going to make the first one explode, which in this case is going to be the bottom one. So I now get my fire debuff. Warden's Wrath, Raid Wide AoE, so everybody come to the middle, make sure that you get some heals. Then the second ones explode, so also make sure that somebody is actually taking these, but normally depending on your debuffs, somebody should need these anyways. So the explode, and then of course the purple ones you avoid. Another Warden's Wrath, so again, Raid Wide AoE, heal shield for this. And then we get our final set of debuffs. Everybody needs to be on a tile for this one again. Now, very important to note, if somebody messes up this mechanic, if you're in a static, you can just call it out, I messed up. Give that person some shields, because these do not one-shot you if you mess it up. As you'll see over here, our red mage made a mistake. We just shielded him and he doesn't even lose half of his HP. He does get a damage down though, but of course that's better than dying. Another tank buster, this one is going to be it's purgation, not purgatation, or purgatory, whatever I said before. So knockback, tank swap, and then I get a point blank AoE on me, or a proximity AoE rather. But you can just stand at the edge of the boss. As long as you don't stand too close to the main tank or the group, they will be fine. And of course, if you put up some mitigation for this, then there's definitely no problem to just keep uptime as the tank. Shining Cells is another raid-wide AoE, so again, put up some mitigation for this, and that is the phase change. This is going to be combining the Flail mechanic together with the mechanic that we saw from normal mode. So, because he did the chain on the right side, again from my perspective we need to go left, he is doing the white orbs, meaning we need to stand on the red, and then he's also doing the spike ball, meaning we need to go out. So for the first one we can still stand kind of close. The first AoE goes out, then we move away because he's doing the out mechanic, and that resolves it. It always comes in 2 hits, so make sure that you keep standing on the correct color. Pitiless Flail from Grace. Again, Grace is the group share, so my paladin is taking the boss here and he's going to be stacking with the group. Then we get another Aether Flail. This time it's going to be in first, then go to the right, and we need to stand on the white tiles because he's doing the fire one. So we all stand on this side of the boss and we just stay on the white as both of the mechanics resolve. Shackles of Time. This is going to put a shackle debuff on one random player, and these will indicate, well, we can actually choose what we want to do here. Heavy Hand, another tank buster. Now, so this mechanic, basically where this player is standing, or on which color this player is standing when the mechanic resolves or the debuff times out, is also going to be the color that will be exploding. So in our case, we always made this player go to a white tile, meaning that the rest of the group is standing on the red tiles. So, tank buster resolves here, our player is standing on the white, debuff expires, which means that all the white explodes. The person with the debuff does not take any damage, it seems. And then Slam Shut is another raid-wide AoE, and then we are going to go back to the other arena. First mechanic for phase 3 is going to be Fourfold Shackles. This is basically the shackle mechanic from the beginning, but a little bit extra. Now, as I mentioned before, you can max melee this mechanic. Because we did not know this, we're going to respect the hell out of this. Again, just like before, if you have a red tether, you go away. If you have a purple tether, you stand close. Once you take your initial positions, you can stay in these positions for the entire mechanic. So, all of the players line themselves up, all the reds go out, all of the purples go in, and then we just stand here and we wait for the mechanic to resolve itself. Again, we're all standing in the corner because we're respecting this mechanic. If you have good markers set up, you can just max melee this. And then there is no problem for your melees to keep uptime during this entire mechanic. But it's week 1, we were just playing it safe. After this, Warden's Wrath, so make sure that everybody is healed up for this. Because again, the shackles do deal damage. And then the boss is just vibing a little bit. Another In-temperance, fire and ice. Going to be handled similarly to before. Now this time around, I have two of the same color, so you'll see what needs to happen. So In-temperance Torment is going to be exploding the first one. Again, it's random if it starts bottom or top, but again, doesn't matter. Now, because I had two of the same, I need to make sure I grab a fire debuff, so I'm running north to grab the fire debuff. Together with this is going to be a Jailer's Flail. He is doing out into in. I'm going to be moving first because I did not know that this goes out immediately. There's not enough time. So I should have just waited until it was in before I moved. That's why I take a damage down. And then everybody goes back to their initial positions. So if it is the same debuff that you have on your top and bottom, you need to make sure you take the opposite one during the second explosion. If it is different, so if you have fire and ice top and bottom, you just stand in the middle of the arena and then that will resolve that mechanic. Another Warden's Wrath, so heal up, because of course there was some damage taken on the previous phase. And then there's some auto attacks before we go back to the white and red tile phase. So again, Shining Cells, Raid White AoE. Make sure there's some mitigation for this one. Then we have Shackles again. So try to bait this one if you can on your ranged. Again, if you have red, you go out. If you have purple, you get close. Together with this is going to be Aether Chain, so because it's white, we want to be standing on red. And then he'll be doing it again white, so we are standing on red, and then we try to stay in our relative positions for the chains. This time it's only one explosion, so people can come back to the boss. Another Warden's Wrath, Raid White AoE. Make sure people are healed if need be. Then we get another Tank Buster, if I am not mistaken. Oh no, it's Shackles of Time together with a Tank Buster. So Shackles of Time, again, it's going to be that debuff. We choose to put it on the white tile. Purgation, meaning the flare. So I'm going to be standing away from the group, away from the other tank. I'm just taking some extra distance to make sure that we take as least damage as possible. And then of course, because the Shackles of Time went off, we had to stand on the red, because we choose white for our debuffed player. Another Raid White AoE, Warden's Wrath. And another Aether Flail. So Sickle on the left, the Spiky Ball on the right. So we are going to stand on red as well as on the right side. Dodge the Cleave and then dodge the out mechanic, while standing on the red tiles because he was doing the white orbs. Another Aether Flail, this time around we're going left as well as in, and we're standing on white, but the boss is going to die at this point. So this is the furthest that we saw into the fight. Of course, I don't know if there is any more mechanics coming after this, but I doubt that there will be any new mechanics coming after this, because everything else seemed to be kind of like repeat mechanics or just combination of mechanics that we had seen before. Together with some other stuff. So that's gonna do it for this one. If you have any more questions about any of the mechanics, then feel free to leave a comment down below, and I'll try to get back to you because we are still progging through the third and the fourth fight, of course. So we're gonna be very busy with that, but if I have the time, I'll try and respond to any of the questions that you might have. But on that note, I wanna thank you for watching, I wanna thank my Patreons for their support, and I'll see you in the next one.